It's just like anything, right? There's always going to be that fear. We started applying for jobs at Home Depot. They're like, okay, I got to bring in some money, Hopefully, I never had to take on that job. There was right off the bat, the introductions, and meeting people, and word of mouth. It just kept me alive, right? The next one, and somebody a word of mouth said, hey, we've got Tony, he's out here, and it's always grown that way, and it just started off from day one. Now, granted, we didn't make any money. I made enough so I could pay bills. I don't go out as much, don't go to dinner, but you work a lot, right? By myself, right? And back then there was no GPS, right? You have a map on your steering wheel, you're driving from point A to point B. Back then there was no remoting into people. You had to go on site.
Yeah.
Right? I'm driving to Tampa. I'm driving and I've never driven around all these cities, and calling it, hey, where exactly are you? I needed the work. I needed the clients. I would drive 3 hours in one direction just because I had that opportunity to have a client.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the MSP Pipeline. I'm your host, Kyle First. Today's guest is Tony Browne, the founder of Spider Networks. Tony left a corporate engineering career to build an MSP focused on security, long-term relationships, and doing things the right way. And decades later, they still have clients from day one. We're going to talk about building through industry change, surviving difficult moments, cybersecurity, AI, and what it takes to really stay relevant in the business for the long haul. And Tony, I just want to say it's really great to have you on, and thank you very much for being here today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
I'm glad to hear that, Tony. And, I want to start with the decision that changed everything, because walking away from a stable corporate engineering career probably sounded insane to a lot of people, especially at a time when this industry looked nothing like it does today, right? So what made you take the leap from corporate America to starting Spider Networks?
It was a crazy thing to do at the time, especially I had a great career.
Mm-hmm.
I was with this huge company. There was paying for all my schooling, I was training. It was just a great job. They were actually very surprised to see me go, and so was everybody else. But, I had a friend who was already in the industry. He was servicing financial institutions. He was an auditor, and he approached me. He says, look, you have always wanted to start out in your own business. Why don't you take a chance? This is a huge opportunity. There's a great need for you. Why don't you just give a chance and start your own company and come on board, and I'll mentor you, I'll help you, I'll do the introductions. And I was like, wow, this sounds like, man, I've got a great paying job. They travel, I get all this stuff. I said, okay. I went to my wife, I approached her, and I said, look, and she's also in finance, she's an accountant, and she understands there's a great risk, right? You start a business, there's a good chance you're not going to survive. But she says, we're doing all right. I think we can survive on just my income. If you really want to do this, go ahead and give it a shot. And that's how we started.
I love it. And did you feel confident in the decision, or was there a lot of fear attached to it?
Oh man, no, it's just like anything, right? There's always going to be that fear. I started applying for jobs at Home Depot. They're like, okay, I got to bring in some money, while I'll work part-time at Home Depot. I'll run around and I'll do this and see what happens. But luckily, I never had to take on that job. There was right off the bat, the introductions and meeting people and word of mouth. It just kept me alive, right? The next one, and somebody a word of mouth said, hey, we've got Tony, he's out here, and it's always grown that way. And it just started off from day one. Now, granted, we didn't make any money. I made enough to where I could pay bills, right?
Yeah, awesome.
Worked hard, extra hours, but survived.
That's awesome. And did you have to make any sacrifices during those early years?
Yeah, well, there's sacrifices. You don't go out as much, you don't go to dinner, but you work a lot, right? By myself, right? And back then there was no GPS, right? You have a map on your steering wheel, you're driving from point A to point B. Back then there was no remoting into people. You had to go on site.
Yeah.
Right? I'm driving to Tampa. I'm driving and I've never driven around all these cities, you know, and you call in a customer, hey, where exactly are you? Oh, you turn right at this station, you know, that kind of stuff. And man, you know, I would spend, just because I needed the work, I needed the clients, I would drive 3 hours in one direction just because I had that opportunity to have a client.
Yep.
Right? It's just one more client to keep us alive. And you just do what you need to do. You work late at night. I did the billing, you know, I did the phone calls, I did the collection, everything on my own, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm interested, like, how important were the relationships in just getting the business off the ground originally?
So relationships are everything, especially being in IT, right? So people are not going to trust you out the door. They don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And I just cannot believe how lucky I was. So I was in an industry that's, even though it's competitive, they're not. They all work together. And I really learned out of that to love that industry, just because they all help each other. But with that being said, is if I made a mistake, you know, it could hurt me because they all talk to each other.
Yep.
Right? So, hey, you know, Tony came out here, he did this, and it didn't work out. So it's that word of mouth, right? So the word of mouth can be a great thing on one hand. They all say nice things about you. They get you in the door. And that's how the business grew. And luckily for me, I never had any of the negative feedback, right? So granted, you know, when you first start in IT, you're the king, right? You get out of college and you've been doing this, you think you know everything.
Yep.
Until you go into business by yourself, right? There is no, hey Dave, have you ever seen this problem before? Can you help me out? You know, there is nobody over there to call, right? And it's easy, right? And you think you know it all until you start getting out there and you're like, oh God, how do I figure this out? There's no Google. I got nobody to ask. There's no YouTube, right? You fight to get things done. And you know what? It helped, that word of mouth, right? If something went wrong, granted, whether it was I did it or the problem, you would spend the entire night trying to figure it out, and that business would come in the morning and they'd still be able to function.
Yep.
Right? From what they see, you're awesome. From your end, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I got it to work.
That's crazy. You know, as the business grew, right? How much pressure came with having employees actually depend on you?
Right. I mean, it was great, right? It's like, so, yeah. But me as an engineer, I also grew, right? Mm-hmm. You know, everybody's worried about that failure. But man, all of those failures really, really made us who we are today, right? Or made me where I am today. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go through that again. But you know, those nights where you spent figuring stuff out, you know, without the help or stuff, and you finally succeeded, right? And the next time that happened, it made you that much better. And I think that's, unfortunately, some of the opportunities that don't happen today is they're so easy for people to figure things out, right? So you can look on YouTube or watch a video, that kind of stuff. It makes it harder for you as a person to grow. Where even though I didn't have the technology and all that stuff, I grew significantly because you had to fight harder to learn. Right. So, I mean, that's what made us where we are today and made me as a person as I am today. And hopefully anybody who enters that or comes into a business knowing that I might not know anything, but you know what, if you fight your way through it, willing to take that chance and learn, you will get there, right? Just fight your way, learn from that experience. You're gonna fail, and just get through it. You'll be that much better going forward, and you'll be better as a company going forward because you had those failures.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, one thing I find fascinating about your story is you survived multiple massive shifts in technology, going from raves, going to cybersecurity, AI, you know.
And we're still going, and we're going through it again. Right? It's crazy.
It's crazy. But, most people can't even survive one industry shift. So what were the biggest turning points for the company over the years?
So the biggest scare that we have, right? So we're in the banking industry. That was our core system. When I started in business, I'm like, man, this is great, man. I'm working with the banking industry. What could go wrong, right? I was like, the money. I don't have to chase money. The money just shows up in my account.
Yep.
The regulators, they're awesome. They're the biggest sales team you could ever have because every month they come out with, this is happening and your institution needs to do A, B, and C, right? So, yes, it's money in my pocket, right? And man, there was that big banking fiasco. All the banks were in trouble, right? So they were merging. I was losing clients. It's like, oh my God, we're not going to survive this, right? So that was the biggest turning point for us. We're like, we cannot have all of our eggs in one basket.
Yeah, of course.
And that should do this. And, I don't know why I didn't think of that at the time. Anybody going into business should realize you cannot concentrate on one industry and expect everything to go your way, right?
Yeah.
There's no crystal ball. Things are going to go wrong somewhere in some place. So you need to diversify. And, it's just like investing in money. You don't say, okay, I'm just going to do bonds, right? The world changes all the time and you don't know what's going to happen. So
Yeah,
it's
of course.
the same thing with business. And we survived that, right? We expanded. We took what we learned in that industry, right? I learned an awful lot with security and the needs and the compliance and the regulations. And we said, well, there are lots of other industries that need that compliance. I didn't say, okay, I'm going to go service everybody, right? I took what we learned there and I expanded on it. And I said, okay, what other industries also have security and compliance needs? And I went after them. And that's how we survive today. We're a little bit more, involved with other industries and stuff, not everybody.
Yeah, of course. And is there a specific industry that you guys started to focus in a little bit more and a certain reason why?
Well, again, when I started, it was just credit unions. So now we've migrated to the banks. There's a war that's been going on for years with credit unions and banks. It was like, man, if I leave and I start servicing the banking industry, will I really upset the credit unions? No, all the banks, they're the big evil doers and stuff. So we've migrated to the banks, which wasn't that far of a leap. It's a different, regulation. And so we're doing some military contractors, which does NIST, which has been awesome. There's been new regulations in that industry, and lucky for me that it's a great open market, right? So it's like and especially if you can come in to somebody and say, well, I've been doing the banking industry for 20 years. I can also secure you use what expertise that we have and get you in compliance. Attorneys, medical field, anybody that has regulatory requirements is the field that we follow.
Okay, fair enough. And, getting into cybersecurity, right? When do you think cybersecurity stopped being an IT feature and became kind of the main conversation?
Well, I think, again, there was another learning curve for us. Again, you think you're doing everything right? So like, hey, nobody has user rights, right? I've got firewalls in place. I limit their access. Nothing can happen to us because they can't install anything. And then, man, ransomware came along and kicked our butt. It's like, how in the world did we get beat so bad? It's like, but we didn't lose any data or any of that stuff. We were able to recover all of our clients because of all the other items that we did. So it was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not the most wonderful guy in the world, right? It's like, again, that crystal ball. So at that point, security became important for everybody, right? In some industries, that are unregulated, it's a shame that it's not, and I started teaching classes and all like stuff to try and help businesses, and it still doesn't seem to be important to them until they lose something. It's like being in the industry where you talk about car alarms or home alarms and stuff like that. They don't buy a home alarm until you get broken into, right? But unfortunately, in the cybersecurity world, it doesn't happen that way, right? So if you suffer an attack, I mean, you're gone. You lose everything. A business can go out like that. And it's unfortunate that most businesses still don't see that. So, but from our standpoint, and from a regulatory industry, they're required to meet those standards. So it's a great industry to be in. Why everybody doesn't, the news goes on every single day where something happens, right? And it amazes me that how difficult it is to explain to people, is like, it's important, right? You need to do A, B, and C. Oh, but I'm not a bank. You still plugged into the world. It's a huge money maker. We lose so much money in our economy today.
Of course.
That could be going to services. Everybody's complaining, right? It's like, well, do you know how much money we lose in our economy if you just did A, B, C, and D, right? Just a few little things, right? You don't have to even hire. You can watch YouTube videos. There, how you can secure and do things. And most companies can't afford a security engineer. That's the reality of it. But you could still do some basic stuff, which I can't tell you in business we walk into, and they either have a firewall or don't have a firewall, or it's just not even set up. It drives me crazy. But it's always going to be important, and especially today. And when I first started, there were no firewalls.
Yeah.
There was no need. They were hacking over phone lines into systems. I mean, there's a great movies out there about it, right? And it's been going on since that, and it's not going away, right? It's increasing significantly, especially with wars and governments that are sponsoring and stuff. So cybersecurity's never going away. It's a great industry to get into.
Yeah.
The industries that do realize it, understand it, and seek you out. People put us on an airplane and fly them over and help their existing IT, get them secure and stuff like that. Being in cybersecurity and being the expert in the industry is the way to go. And if you can mentor, if you're getting into cybersecurity, find a mentor. If you can get into a company that's doing cybersecurity and just learn it, that's your first step. Get into cybersecurity. And as an MSP, that's what makes you different from the other million MSPs out there. Being able to provide that security and say, hey, I'm doing this. This is the industry that I'm in.
Yeah, definitely. And, in those early years, were there years where survival honestly felt uncertain?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I was pretty lucky.
Yeah.
What's different from what most people get into businesses, and I recommend anybody getting into businesses, find that industry that you're proficient at or that you're the expertise and get into. And when we started, again, I was lucky enough to be introduced to the credit unions, and they saw me as a shared resource and they used us. So I never had to worry, other than when the banking fiasco happened, that we would be in financial trouble. It's like anybody getting into business, right? If you're not doing it, you have to do it because you love doing it, right? I mean, I went to school and man, it was like getting paid to play with toys. I was like, I can't believe I can get paid to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And back then, it's like, you didn't go to Dell. We were building machines in the garage, right? It was a blast. Machines all over the place for building machines. It was fun, right? And then people would, it was like, We were even in the ceiling throwing wire because networks were changing some. It was fun just to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And then building servers. You're building servers from scratch. You're building machines from scratch. He was just the boss. I'll do this for free. Right. But you're paying me to go out and do this. It was great. It's the love of doing it. Right.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the guys and the teams that are working for me. They're doing it because they love doing it. And if you're going to get into business to do anything, if it's not here, if you don't really love doing it, you're not going to put in that extra time. You're not going to work late at night. It's a lot of work, to grow a business or do a business, but you have to do it because you really love doing this stuff.
Yeah, of course. And that's great that you love what you do every day, because that's very important since you're doing it for a long time. And, you've been in the industry for a long time. So what would you say, it's changed a lot about client expectations since the beginning days when you started?
At the beginning days when we started, right? So you weren't able to remote in and do stuff. So really, people were a lot more patient. And we've got into a world today where that expectation has to be instantaneous. Right? People would wait. So, for example, when I first started, it would be a 3-hour drive to get to Tampa. Right? It's like, get here when you get here.
Now you got to set time and stuff. You got to get there.
Today, man, between this thing,
Yeah,
right? We didn't have this. We didn't have computers that were as strong as these. Right? So, and that expectation is for somebody to pick up a phone. You answer now, no matter where you are. I'm on vacation last week. I'm answering the phone.
Yeah.
That's the expectations today. And they expect, okay, for example, it was like, my email's not working, or my icon on my desktop is not in place. They want it now. Right. And that's just the way of the world it is today. But on the other hand, it's also gotten easier, right? So if for example, a server fails or anything like that, it would take forever to get that thing back up, or a computer failure. It would take you 24, 48 hours to get a machine back working. We haven't had to rebuild a machine in years. The technology has changed so much over the years, right? So somebody calls you and my machine's not working, you can rebuild a machine from scratch and have it up and working in an hour. Right?
Yeah.
That wasn't like that when I first started, right? It was like, oh, I need a new machine. Oh, hold on, give me a second. I'll buy one on Amazon or whatever,
Yep.
or it'll be here tomorrow. It's like, okay, well, hold on now. I used to have to buy a motherboard or because it was so expensive back then to buy from Dell. Well, it'll be ready in a week, so it was like, the expectation today is we want it now and it's got to be delivered today.
Yeah. And you've been in the business probably longer than I've been alive, honestly. So
That hurt. I knew I should have dyed that hair this week.
But what do you think, younger MSP owners underestimate about building a company long term?
So I think my thing is again, it's that whenever you get into business, and what I see from people coming out of school and stuff, or younger people is their expectations of because I'm an expertise in my field or my technology, that I should be able to just go out and do it. And everything in business is relationships, right? Networking and those items. And I think they miss that, right? So even when you hire people in and come and do the work for you, is you have to always sell yourself.
Yeah.
Even if you're working for somebody, right? You walk into a door, you have to be able to sell yourself, right? They want you back, right? So, and especially if you go into business for yourself, and one of the hardest things, I was always very shy. I know it doesn't appear like that now, but I was always very shy and not outgoing, right? It's a learning tool that you just learn. by going out and networking and going to chamber meetings or joining a networking group and items like that, right? And that's how I learned. And that's how I also learned to speak. How did I go out and get speaking engagements? There's no way that I could stand in front of an audience and speak back then.
Yeah.
I had to learn that skill. And that's probably the most important skill. Right, you can make mistakes in IT, and if you have a good relationship with that business owner, they're not going to kick you out the door just because they know you as a person.
Yeah.
And in any business, you're not really doing business with the business. They're doing business with myself. They're doing business with the team, the people. People to people is the most important thing.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said it yourself, huge theme in your story is relationships, right? You built this company almost entirely through word of mouth referrals without doing that aggressive advertising a lot of companies do. So what makes clients stay with an MSP for decades?
Again, it's that relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like you build a relation. Our clients are not clients. I'll tell you that right now. They're our friends. I mean, I'll go out to dinner with them.
Yeah.
I'll invite them over. I'm lucky enough to live where I live. Or, I'll take them out snorkeling. They're our friend. It's very hard to fire somebody or get rid of a company that you have a relationship with.
Like you said it yourself, you still have clients from the first day of the business, which is very impressive. So what creates that level of loyalty for them to want to keep coming back to you?
So I think what creates that, again, is that they watch through the years what we've done, right?
Yeah.
So you can't tell how good of a person is or how good a company is until something bad happens,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when that bad thing happens, how do I respond, or how does that company respond, right? And once they see something really, for example, ransomware or down server, their system down, how did we respond to their needs, right? We didn't ignore them. We made them our most important thing. You put all of your resources in to making sure that their business can continue or be up and functioning as fast as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've seen it. For example, I'll give you an example. We had one institution where their server was down. There were two of us that slept overnight in their lobby, right, to get them back up and running the following day. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
How do you remember? What is it, a money making thing? No. It's you're responsible. As a business owner, or especially an MSP, you're not just an IT company. You're not a technology company. You're responsible for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's how you need to be. And over the years, existing clients know that that's how we are, right? I don't care what I need to do. You have a problem. We're going to do everything we can do to help you resolve that problem.
Yeah.
Funny thing about being in technology is we get calls that have nothing to do with anything that has anything to do with us.
Okay.
It's like, I'm not going to get paid. I don't get paid to solve that problem, right? It's like, but you called me. Let me do some research, right? I have the ability, the technology. I know how to use Google, right? Let me reach out. Let me find out what I can do to help you resolve your issue, right? Even though it has nothing to do with us, right? So that builds that relationship, and people remember that. And that's, you have to go into the mindset of running a business, or being a business, not saying, I can't tell you how many times I'll call someplace, with an issue and say, ask them a question, or they're like, it's not my department. And they're gone. And you're like, what in God's name? What's wrong with you? You didn't even try to reach out to somebody else or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's so common today. It's like, Hey, it's not my problem. You just can't be that way.
Of course, of
It drives
course.
me crazy.
It really does. And I mean, like you built this company through mostly referrals, right? So did you ever try the sales or the marketing aspect of Spider Networks instead?
So we until recently, we've hired a marketing company, and we're doing the videos. And I'm having fun with it. But to be honest with you, all of our growth has been through referrals. Do I
Yeah.
get a client from time to time from advertising and that stuff? Yeah, yeah. But the big core of our system, and really the bigger clients have come just from word of mouth referrals. Hey, the networking group or something like that. It's all been referrals. It's people to people, people doing business with people.
I love that.
But the reality is, if you're in the technology industry, I don't see how else to grow it, right?
Mhm.
Granted, you can do help videos and that kind of stuff, but put yourself in the other business, in the business owner's place, right?
Yeah.
His business is completely, or her business is completely dependent on the company that they hire, right? Technology is everything that is done today.
Yeah.
Everything you do is in the cloud. It's on the word. It's in an application that business uses to do business. Their bookkeeping. Even the phones today are computers, right? It's not a landline anymore. It's not plugged into a separate line. It's part of your network, right? So nothing happens that your technology firm can't help you with, right? And if that technology firm is not there for you, you got big trouble.
Hmm.
Right. So there has to be that trust. So when they go looking, do they go looking on the internet? The reality is they don't. Very few companies go looking on the internet for you, unless it's a homeowner, or if that's the industry that you're in, you'll find that they're going to search for you online. But most businesses today need to know or trust that whoever they bring in is going to be the company that's going to support them. And again, when it's good, it's good. You're that company. But they need to know when it's not. When
Mhm.
it's not good, you're going to be there for them. And how do they find you? Well, they find you by speaking and talking to businesses that know that when it wouldn't sell, you were there for them. And that's what really matters, right? So, hey, Spider Networks was there in a hurricane. Or, you know, they were there, they got us back up and running. We weren't able to get back into our office. They helped us get in contact with another business. That business let us go over there. They're a great resource for when things go south. They've helped us in other technology needs that had nothing to do with it. You should use Spider Networks or anything, right? That's generally, especially in IT, you got to get out there. You got to make relationships. And I know it's so difficult to start.
Mm.
Right? When you're first starting out to build those relationships.
Yeah, definitely understand that. And you said it yourself, you want to be an expert in your field, right? And I understand you're someone who's constantly learning along the way, and from cybersecurity certifications to AI classes at Harvard and Michigan State.
And at my age, I'm still having to do this stuff, right? It's like crazy.
But right now the industry feels like it's changing faster than ever. So what excites you the most about AI right now?
So I think it's a great opportunity again, it's just like in anything, and all the changes that have happened in the years through being in IT. This is one of them. I hate being my age right now.
Okay.
I really do, because it's like, okay, I got to watch networks change, right?
Mhm.
From dial-up to MSP. There was no Google. There was none of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
It was a great time to be in technology, right? We were rewiring buildings. It was a learning experience. It was great. Then we went to servers, and we've been to clouds, then the MSP, the ability to do virtual machines, and all. It's hard to believe that it's only been 25 years or 26 years that all these changes that have happened, right? And now there's artificial intelligence, right? And it is phenomenal, the changes. As I'm taking classes and learning, there's Chat GDP 2.0, and then a week later, Chat GDP 3.6. That's like, I remember going through school having the same issues, that you couldn't take classes fast enough to keep up with the technology. And that's what it is today. Artificial intelligence is just unbelievable. And what a great opportunity for people entering the technology field.
Yeah, definitely. And do you have any concerns, though, about some of the way the businesses are implementing AI?
Well, there's always going to be the security thing, right? So AI, even though it's been around for quite some time, everybody thinks it's new. It's not. It's just come to the point where it's becoming affordable, accessible, and it changes incredibly fast, right? But on the other hand, it's changing so fast that definitely no regulations are in place. And I think everybody that's in office today is so old, they're like me, right? They have not a clue right, or how to implement it, or attention to what is AI. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Right. And again, but it's, from what I see, it's also a common sense thing, right? So most of, if you're not implementing a private chat DP or a AI platform on your own, in your own data center, and keeping it private, it's the same thing for everybody, right? It's like a little knowledge goes a long way. Just doing some basic cyber awareness training with your employees and stuff. Don't scare them away from it.
Yeah.
Right. You may not understand it, and none of us really do, right? Unless you're a programmer and then you're really writing the program for artificial intelligence and really getting in depth. I mean, I'm just learning the programming aspect itself, right? So I'm no expert at the programming, but I've been playing, and I love AI, right? And the possibilities for what you can do with it. All right. And most of the bigger firms are really concentrating on it, and they see the capabilities of it, right? Everybody's worried about losing jobs and stuff, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think if you jump onto this and learn it and implement it into your own businesses, I think it's a great opportunity to expand the services, to make your services a lot more proficient using artificial intelligence, right? Through the years, I've watched businesses pay astronomical amounts of money to build specialized platforms. I think that's the industry that's going to get clobbered, right? Because I don't know why I keep saying Chat GDP, but artificial intelligence is really opening up a whole industry where you don't need that expertise to be a programmer. It's good to have the basics and stuff like that. But a lot of what's coming out from AI is you, as a regular person who understands your own industry, are going to be able to use AI to specialize and create programs within your own firm that will work for you without you having to go out and spend tens and thousands of dollars.
Definitely.
It's a great opportunity for every single business.
Yeah, definitely. I understand you're building an AI-powered PBX right now. Is that correct?
We've implemented it. It works great. It's like, it's now you can start, it picks up the phone for you.
Yeah.
Hi, and it'll talk to you. It's not like in the beginning where, you make a call, and some of these old phone systems are out there that, I don't want to talk to you anymore, right? It's gone. And that's how far it's gotten. That that AI will have a conversation with you. Hi, how are you? Your name is that. Okay, good. And what can I help you with it? And it looks for keywords, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking, I need to talk to a member service representative, or a loan officer. And I said, okay, thank you very much. And it'll forward that call to the appropriate group or person. And it won't frustrate that person on the other end of the phone. It's like, it now frees up a person.
Yeah.
Right. And it helps. And the most important thing, your customer.
Mm.
Your customer's not frustrated anymore. Right. So all these companies, it's so frustrating to reach anybody. Right. But now you can implement phone systems and stuff that will help your customer.
Yeah.
You'll send them to the appropriate person. Your person at the other end at your office will pick up and speak to that person, right? And address their needs. And that's any business. You want to address that person's needs. You don't want them to go somewhere else, right?
What skills do you think, MSP owners need that nowadays that they might have not needed 2-3 years ago?
Well, I always say, again, MSP 3 years ago was a big deal, right? There weren't a lot of them, but it's become affordable for one thing. So if you're an IT company and you're not an MSP, then
Yeah.
it's no longer relevant in the industry. So, but it's becoming that way for MSP too, right? So everybody at this point. And the problem being too is you're now competing with much cheaper resources out there, right? You're competing with India, you're competing with Philippines, you're competing with who can do everything that you can do as an MSP for much less.
Much less.
Right. So how do you as an MSP stay relevant, right? Again, so now if you need to make sure that this is the industry that you're proficient in, you're the expertise at this industry, as opposed to somebody overseas. Right. And the other thing is being able to be local.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So even though I'm an MSP, I partner with MSPs in other areas where I service in that territory.
Nice.
So the whole idea is yeah, I can take care of your day-to-day operations. Yes, I can get on an airplane and go out and take care of it, but I can also take care of your local issues.
That's actually awesome. That's really good that you work with other MSPs actually. But where do you think cybersecurity is going in the next 5 years?
Well, it's definitely not going away.
Definitely not.
So it's hard to have a crystal ball because every time I think that we have things locked down, those bad guys come out with something new.
Yeah.
Ransomware was something new, and at this point it's like, okay, well, we think we resolved it, but they're constantly evolving, and it's the same thing with us, right? So we're constantly evolving. We're going to classes, and we're now addressing. We're no longer addressing, hey, we've got firewall in place, we've got security in place. So the most important thing now, today at least, is to address the people that are using the network.
Okay.
Right? So you can't just look at your MSP and you're monitoring everything and you've got your security in place. You now need to start teaching people. Right.
Awesome.
From our standpoint is we're the front wall, the firewall, and got all the security in place. But the other guys, the bad guys that are attacking all these businesses, also know that, right? It's become very difficult to run an attack against a business today from outside.
Mm-hmm.
So what they've learned is to bypass everything, get to it on the other side, the person who picks up the phone. And I'll give you a story, right? So I won't mention the institution, okay? But right, it was a financial institution, and the person is sitting on the teller and they pick up the phone, and lo and behold, it's Microsoft calling.
The
I see that you have a problem with your machine. Now, first of all, teller knows that we're their IT.
Yeah.
Right? Why? You scratch your head and you're like, why would you let the person from Microsoft get on your machine? Right? So, but they did, but luckily, they caught up in time and we prevented everything. But you now need to really concentrate on the people using the network.
To close this out, we ask a two-part question. If you could go back to the version of yourself leaving corporate America, what advice would you give yourself? And then when it's all said and done, what do you hope people remember about Spider Networks and the way you built it?
So if I were to start over again, I know how difficult it would be. Again, from my mistakes, again, the most important thing is diversify. Don't put yourself in that little. You need to be an expert in something, but you need to be an expert for businesses in multiple fields and items like that. So and separate yourself, right? And I wish I had started greeting people in the beginning, right? So again, I love technology. I really didn't want to do all the things that I'm doing today. Right?
Okay.
Having to do the networking and talking to people and the accounting and all. I just love doing the technology side. Don't be afraid. Get yourself out the door, meet people. It gets easier over time. Right. And don't be afraid to take that chance. Don't be afraid of failure. I see a lot of people afraid of failure. Don't be. You end up being a better person, a better firm by those failures. Go to it. Go through it. Don't be afraid of it happening.
I love it. Yeah, don't be afraid of rejection. That's how I see it. So,
and even in trying new technologies and stuff, get out there and learn, do, fail.
Yep.
Try it. Just try. Don't try it on a live system for, your new technology. Build something, a little lab, or build something. And if the company asks you, can you do this? I don't know, but don't walk away from it. Do the research, build it, try it. And then if it fails, you approach them and say, hey, look, your idea or what you want to do, it's either going to be too expensive or whatever, but try it. Don't be afraid to take that leap.
Of course. I love that. And Tony, I just want to say once again, it was a pleasure to have you on here today. Really looking forward to watching the full video today and later. And I hope we get the chance to maybe do this again one day.
I agree. Hey, great talking to you. It was a pleasure meeting you. And again, it's just fun talking.